Hello, fellow idiots. This is Nick the Idiot. I want to give a quick shout out to the godfather of Gotton's Way, Sam DeLeo. He was my mowing buddy when we lived in St. Cloud, and everybody wanted their lawn to be like his. He's not dead. It's not. I was talking past tense. He's not dead. He's I just said I would mention his name. I got him into podcasts, and I'm like, you should listen to mine. I'll talk about you. So rest in peace, Sam. Just take a break. You work too much. Anyway, I wanted to real quick talk about. So ever since I was little, ever since I was 12, I have to eat like every hour. I always had to eat I would get shaky, cold sweats, things like that, headaches. I even got tested for hypoglycemia at one point and came back negative. The doctor was like, "I think you're just a wimp. Are you weak? Are you just a weakling? Are you weakling?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I am. I'm weak and I'm an idiot." So I didn't pick up on the weak part. But so I always would carry, when we were in the island and I'm leading people up in the jungle or whatever, I always have 8 boxes of crackers with me. Just I had to eat them. So in '08 when we became Catholic, then it was kind of a thing, because they have, there's occasional times of fasting when it comes just once in a while, and they're pretty lax. If we're honest, they were pretty lenient. It's just like you can eat a full meal that day and then 2 smaller meals that when you add them together, they don't equal more than a meal, and that's nothing. That's nothing. It's pretty easy. But I still struggle with it, and so I would always fast something else, like music. I would cut music out for all of Lent or whatever. And say what you will about imposed fasting or whatever, but I loved it. I mean, not only do you just learn that you can say no to things, but you're using your body as an alarm clock whenever you're hungry or you crave for the music or whatever. It would just be oh, that's right, I'm praying. So I'd pray way more often and wholeheartedly. And by the end of every Lent that I've done, I would come out feeling more aware of everything, more aware of God in my life, more aware of the people around me, just more aware. And so it's good in and of itself. But so the thing was, when I started, when I hit about 35, I realized that my clothes were shrinking. My belt the leather must have been shrinking or something. I had to add holes on the belt because I was just filling in my clothes and my metabolism was slowing way down. And so when I was leading up to my 40th birthday, I'm like, I gotta get a handle on this. And I knew the first step was I used I can't believe I'm gonna admit this. I used to, out of boredom, just take a can of sweetened condensed milk and just chug it. Just give me diabetes. I want it just so bad. And there's this dessert I've seen, or the side dish, where they have half of a pear and a dollop of mayo, and then some sprinkled cheese. Well, I wouldn't have pears around, so I would just take a spoonful of mayo and sprinkle it with cheese and just eat it so much. So I knew right away I should probably stop those things, because the can of sweetened condensed milk has 1,300 calories just in the one. So I stopped that, but I knew I needed something else, and I knew I was never going to be able to I can't add something to my life. I can't add cardio or high intense interval training. I don't have time. People are like, you don't have 20 minutes. I'm like, you don't know my life. You don't know where I've been. You don't know what I've been through. Just back off. I don't have time. And so I needed to do something. And then right about that time, I heard, and this is not a push, but I heard about intermittent fasting. Don't shoot me. Just hold off. And I was like, oh, well, it doesn't require anything of me. I don't have to add anything to my life. I just have to, whenever you have your last calorie for the night, you just don't eat for 16 hours. And I can not do something. I do that all the time. So I was like, I'll give it one day and I'll probably die. So that was I said goodbye to the family and sat them down and be like, Daddy's going to pass away tomorrow. And I did it for a day and I was fine. There were tough points where I'm like, now I know what people in concentration camps did. I'm not, but there were tough points, and so I just pushed through the first day. I was like, oh, actually I'm not as tired as I thought I'd be. I'm not as hangry. So I did it the next day. I did it for a week, and it's going on 2 years now, and it was great. I lost 17 pounds, and I feel great. And my cravings for the type of food I eat changed. So things like that were great, but in the process, something I learned that actually I didn't expect, and this is probably so baseline for all of you. Most people probably know this. I didn't know this, but you can just be hungry. You can just be hungry. You don't have to be full. And I didn't know that, actually. I didn't know what it felt to push through that for real, for long periods of time. And so, like, I started to, like, oh, wow. And then I realized, oh, wow, self-control is actually a fruit of the Spirit. So, like, if you're living a life where, you know, asking God's presence, like His Spirit to be in your life and transform you, one of, like, love, joy, peace, you have peace and patience and kindness, goodness, gentleness, all of those, and self-control. And I was like, wait, like the ability to control yourself is an offshoot of a godly life. Like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. And you can just say no to a hunger craving. And that was new to me. And again, it's probably not new to you, but it was new to me that, like, oh wow, I'm not ruined or ruled by this. I control this. This is my body. And I'm a spirit body composite. So then the next thing that kind of stood out to me was that, well, okay, because I'm a spirit body composite, then this isn't just physical. I mean, there's physical attributes or physical benefits, but it's more. It's more than physical. And so then I started to realize, like, there's a scene in the scriptures where a woman meets Jesus at the well, and he tells her, you can drink from here if you're thirsty, and you'll thirst again. But if you allow me to be so if you drink from me, if you allow me to be your source, you'll never thirst again. And at the core, that kind of cuts through, like, everything that I've always struggled with, everything I've always grasped for, or felt like I need in my life, or craved or yearned for. And that's fine to crave and yearn for all of its, I mean, success, comfort, gratification, intimacy, like, all of it is fine. It's good. It's not, none of those are evils. But true freedom exists in not just being able to do what you want, but being able to say yes to the greatest. Like, in all situations, being able to choose the very best when maybe even your flesh wants less, when your flesh would settle, when the weak part of you would settle for less, would settle for bare minimum, whether it's on a work site, with your spouse, with your kids, like just any area of life where you would just settle. Like, true freedom is being like, no, I'll only choose the greatest. And so Christ is basically saying, you can have these things, they're fine, but I am what you hunger for. You yearn, and this is a little bit from the made to versus made to from last week's podcast, but it's okay to crave. It's okay to want and yearn, but you need to realize and recognize who you're yearning for. Whom you're yearning for. You need to recognize that it's more than. And so going back to the fasting, being able to say, like, I am hungry. My recommendation for the week is just be hungry. Just be hungry. Just choose to be hungry. And you'll find that it was like, for me, it was like this beast that it had nothing to it. There was nothing there. There was nothing to be afraid of. And again, I'm not talking with starvation. I'm not talking like third world. I'm talking, if you're listening to my podcast, this is for you and me. Like, just be hungry. It's okay. You can just be it. And when your craving comes up, when your stomach rumbles, when you ache, when the adrenaline kicks in and tells you that you're hungry, and that's great. Then be hungry, because it can just remind you, like, to the core, who you hunger for, what you're really doing here. I know you're like, dude, this is really, you're gonna drop a don't eat podcast like right before Thanksgiving? That's stupid. Back off, Nick. You don't know. But I'm not saying don't eat. I'm going to eat so much at Thanksgiving. I'm going to eat all of it. My relatives still all hate me because I'm going to eat it all. And then I'll look at them and I'll say, you be hungry. You be hungry. But just, it's okay. Eat at Thanksgiving. Be thankful. Be grateful. And eat at Christmas and enjoy. It's great. It's a blessing. It's all good. But just also learn the lesson that you can be hungry, because you will always be hungering for Him anyway. And if you do that, that's great. Then you will actually find that deeper level of desire for God and awareness of Him, and let Him fulfill you. And then you'll, like I always say, you'll have a good life. And I'll see you on the other side.